Welcome back to the Catalyst Pharmacy Podcast. Today we had super excited because we get like a technician on the show who's like crazy trailblazer, doing all sorts of things, practicing at the top of a technician scope, but also freeing up pharmacists to really practice at the top of theirs. But Meredy Ayers, she's a development specialist at Bremo Pharmacy. And we just go through her background, like a little bit of like her origin story, but also that's just like talking through all of the different roles she's seen like really high performing pharmacy technicians play in a pharmacy, or even sometimes not in a pharmacy, which is also still really cool. Talked about how some of the folks, I'll just say some of her peers and at her current organization leveraging being community healthcare worker certified as well. So really cool. So just kind of talks through like the different ways. So if you ever use this podcast as an education session, this is also be a great podcast to go, hey, cool, this is like all the things you can do as a technician as well. So really good. She's also speaking at Connect on investing in your pharmacy technicians and the financial impact it can have. So great person, great overall person, but also just a great perspective on what it means to be a tech in a pharmacy and still wanting to grow the role. So we'll take you there now. I believe you're the development specialist at Bremo Pharmacy, which I think that title's changed more than once already at this point. Like I went and looked and I was like, yeah, this wasn't what it was before,
not what it was last time.
which reflects, I think, just the work you're doing and how good a work you're doing. So, and really you do a few things. I think you, obviously you do some business development work for Bremo itself. You work on the business, like you said, all the time. But you also work with, I believe, pharmacy technician. Do y'all have a pharmacy technician program?
We do have an ASHP accredited technician training program.
They're at your pharmacy, right?
Yeah, I'm actually sitting next door to our 35-person classroom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's just really cool what you guys do and how much you guys believe in this role and that spot and how they can help and grow. But so before I guess we get too much into that, like, can you just give us your journey around like pharmacy in general, like how you made it to this spot?
At Connect 2025, we're not just bringing the future of pharmacy to life, we're inviting you to explore one of Texas's most charming towns, Grapevine. Learn from expert-led sessions and hands-on workshops at the iconic Gaylord Texan. Connect 2025 gives you everything you need to grow, build connections, and stay ahead in your field. And when the sessions wrap, the experience only gets better. Explore Grapevine's vibrant wine trail, catch a live performance at the Palace Arts Center, relax on a cruise over Lake Grapevine, or take in the views at Meadowmere Park. Come for the conference, stay for the experience. Register now and see all Grapevine has to offer.
I can. I started at age 15 in independent pharmacy.
Okay.
We don't have to go into how old I am, but it's been 25 years, so.
me too.
Right?
Me too. I used to have more hair.
Right. Same. And it wasn't pink. And so I grew up in a small town here in Virginia. So I've lived in Virginia my entire life. I grew up in a small town, Orange, Virginia. And it was like you picked between the pharmacy or the hardware store for your after school job, right? And
Got it.
It was one of the other. It was like Mayberry. And I picked the pharmacy and worked there after school, weekends. It was really just really cool to get into the community and meet the people I've grown up with. Because when you're from a small town, you already know everybody. But it's very different to interact with them, especially at 15. And the one thing that just stuck with me the whole time was I remember working an evening. It was an evening. And I remember somebody coming in and talking to the owner, who was also the pharmacist on duty that day. And I was a clerk at this point. And I remember seeing him hand her a bag of prescriptions. And she put a check across the counter. And nothing happened at the register except for signing for the prescription. And she walked away and thanked him. And I remember him walking over to me because I looked inquisitive, like what just happened. And he said, you know what? Sometimes we do the things we need to do for our community. And what he had done was she didn't get paid until later in the week, but she needed her medications. And so he held on to her check until it would clear. And honestly, that stuck with me more than anything's ever stuck with me in my career. Because I knew that's when I wanted to help the community. I wanted to do healthcare. I didn't necessarily want to be a pharmacist. My background's in music. I went to school at VCU for music. And so it was never, I want to be a pharmacist. But I knew after being around really cool technicians at that pharmacy and then previous independent pharmacies, that's what I wanted to do, was to help people. And maybe somebody that didn't necessarily have an advocate for themselves. And so that's always stuck with me for 25 years. And I moved to Richmond in 2002, worked for another independent pharmacy here for about 10 years, helped open another independent pharmacy while I was doing that, and then came to Bremo about the 11 years this year that I've been here.
Okay.
And that incident has always been in the back of my mind ever since. So anytime making a decision about something personal or in business, I'm always thinking, okay, think about that lady that just needed that extra help, that one thing.
Yeah. No, it's, God, you see it all the time. Not to get too sappy about it, but anytime, like, especially around natural disaster, like we see that all the time. Unfortunately, events happen, whether it was the fires, it was any of the hurricanes or anything like we've been a part of, that we try to do our role and help them. But to see these pharmacies like literally just go out and be like, I just got to drive to everybody I know and make sure they're okay. Get the medication that I know they need right now, give it to them. We'll figure out the rest later. Like, it's just such a, if you can really miss, like with all the other stuff going on, like you can really miss seeing that if you're not looking hard enough. And it's still happening all the time right now. It's happening in Arkansas with the tornadoes they just had. Like, I know that for a fact. So like, it's just kind of a thing that if you're not paying attention, it's easy to miss. So that's a really cool story. And how you came. So, but the other thing I wanted, music. So like, okay.
Yeah, I was a band nerd.
Okay.
But I didn't want to teach, and I was not good enough to perform. So I played piano, and so I went to school to VCU, and then while I was there, got hooked up at this other job at another independent pharmacy here in Richmond. And I was like, I really don't want to pursue music.
It was good.
Nobody told me. I didn't want to like be a music teacher or anything like that. Never have. I have no idea what I was thinking there, honestly.
But I bet you play a mean piano man now. Right?
Oh no, I don't like that song at all. And I'm probably going to get kicked off for that. That's the one song.
Like never, right? No, right? Like everyone always requests it. Everyone hates it. Everybody knows how to play that hates it. Yep.
But I can't, we call it Sinking the Ship. The theme to Titanic, was it the Celine Dion song? I was in, oh god, I don't want to talk about, I guess middle school when that movie came out. And I remember learning that song on the piano, and my dad would walk through while I was playing piano and would say, sink the ship. And I would play the song like in triple speed. And he was like, that movie would have been like half the length if you had played the soundtrack.
Right. If you like, I wouldn't have had to sit in that theater. I had to have to go to a movie with an intermission.
Pretty much. So that I can still do. Like, we'll be randomly like in a, shopping malls that have pianos, and my husband will be like, sink the ship. It's literally the only song still like muscle memory.
Noted. If there's a piano in Grapevine, for Connect,
correct.
we'll wheel it up there
and just yell, sink the ship, and I'll do it.
I'll pay some people in the audience to scream, sink the ship. It'll be good.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so you're doing I'm kind of going out of reverse order a little bit, but you're doing a really cool class in Connect, and I don't want to give it away too much, but like what is that class called? Like the name, the title of I just read it, but the title of it was super good, by the way. I was just like, holy crap.
So I'm going to be talking about, it's the financial impact of technicians, highlighting the critical value of investing in technicians.
Yes.
Deliberately stayed away from the term ROI because you can't really have an ROI on a person.
Yeah.
Where you shouldn't.
Yeah. I'm in sales. We kind of.
I know. And you are investing in a person. Don't get me wrong. You are. And you will get a return on that investment, but you're not looking at the same things you would necessarily look at as a salesperson. So I deliberately kept ROI out of the title. I'd previously given a joint, a similar presentation last year and with somebody else. And we were very adamant that people understood, like, you know, ROI is not what we're trying to do here. It's more of you will get a return, but it's not because of the traditional buy-in of purchasing something for somebody.
Sure.
So we're really talking about expanding the roles of the technician. And we've been, you know, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but I'm never going to stop saying it. Technicians can do so much. Our scope of practice is just different. We aren't the pharmacist. We understand that. Our scope of practice is different. We're in there for the workflow, for the logistics. Like I mentioned earlier, like work on the business and in the business, just like an owner would. It's a different point of view a lot of times coming from a technician. And, you know, talk to the technicians and find out what's kind of affecting their day to day, especially those working in the workflow. 'Cause you don't know what you don't know. Incorporating into immunizations, technicians can immunize. Let's utilize that. There is an ROI on.
Oh yeah, there's real.
That's insane.
That's real. Yeah.
You can save up to 60% on your payroll, and still pay technicians what they're worth.
Yeah. Right.
Yep. There's so much evidence that technicians supporting technicians in accuracy is out there when there's tech in states that allow it. There's so much that we can be doing and are doing that needs to be put out there. APHA just appointed their first technician board of trustee.
Oh, they did.
They did.
So
this year was the first
they
year.
either announced the spot or like the trustees already.
Trustees there. She got sworn in, I believe, at the last meeting.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
How did I miss this?
I know. All right. She's amazing too. We did a leadership class together, and she's just amazing. And then thinking about non-dispensing areas. So I'm an example of that. Development specialist. I got to make up that title, which is actually, it's going to be part of this presentation, like having somebody take ownership of their position. I do a lot of marketing, but I don't like the word marketing because for me and here at Bremo, I'm taking our core values and applying them to the community.
So it's kind of like outreach, not just marketing,
and
right?
I'm not just like selling something to somebody they don't need.
Sure.
I want them to need it. And a lot of our services, everybody needs. But I'm going to look at that individual and say, you know what, maybe you don't need this, but you might need this. And applying like our core value, again, back to the core values. If you're doing the right thing, then the money will come.
You'll have a nice, are you talking about the list of 10? Is that what we're talking about? Yeah. All right. Yeah. I read up. I did my research.
Read up. I'm very impressed.
I read all of them. I cannot remember all of them. I was wondering if you could recite all. I'm kidding. You probably can.
I probably could.
You probably can.
I do them all day, every day. I carry them with me to all presentations I give and to outreach events I go to. They just sit on the table with me. We're very serious about them. And then, med sync programs. That sounds super basic and simple, but there's still pharmacists out there not implementing a synchronization program.
Yeah.
And I think you guys will have Tiffany Capps maybe presenting on that in Texas.
I believe so.
She's going to be amazing.
Tiffany's doing it. Yep.
Inventory management, billing, and looking at, some of the advanced certifications that like PTCB is offering, taking a look at those and kind of honing them around like, well, I have somebody that would be really strong with this. Let me get them, in this certification program and up their level.
Yeah, you just highlighted like 3 huge things too, that I know you don't say ROI,
right.
That there will still be a really healthy return on for the pharmacist and the owner.
There will be.
That if you're investing in your technicians to get a best practice going on inventory, on MedSync, which both of those run hand in hand. You know that better than me.
Yep.
And billing, like all of that investing pays for itself probably in gosh, I bet you don't even have to wait a quarter.
Oh, definitely
Right?
not.
Like you're seeing inventory turns go up. You're seeing patient sat and adherence go up.
You're
Right?
definitely looking at adherence, especially with the synchronization. And then you can utilize that for the rest of your business model. It's appointment-based at that point. Pharmacy's been, not appointment-based for so long. We've been so accessible. And
Yep.
now we've built it into an appointment-based model where, you know what? Hey, are you behind on your vaccines? I can check that when I make my monthly call to you, because we're not autofilling, right? We're actually caring for the patient, calling them, texting them, however we need to communicate with them the best. Have you been in the hospital lately? What's going on? Incorporating CHW work.
Are you
I am.
Are you a certified community health
I
worker?
am.
That's the term, I think.
I use it.
Yeah.
Here's how I use it. We actually have 2 others on staff that are also CHWs. And because I'm not necessarily patient fronting all the time, it's more to understand, their day to day, which has been beneficial tenfold.
Sure.
I also help teach a CHW course, not through Bremo, but, and that's so rewarding to just meet different technicians out there. And it's a class geared toward technicians only. To be
cool.
because anybody could be a CHW.
Yeah. Yep.
But the class I teach is geared towards technicians becoming CHWs. Because like I mentioned, we're the most accessible healthcare provider. Pharmacists are. In pharmacy, you could walk into a pharmacy and say, hey, what's this rash on my arm? And not even be our patient.
I think I've literally done that.
Yeah.
Probably.
And, they're probably going to give you a recommendation and boom. Like, we need to make sure we are giving out resources and finding reimbursable solutions for it too.
Yeah.
Like, our time shouldn't be free. So all of that is kind of in my purview, I guess, a little bit.
How do you use it? You said, I was talking with Bob, and I was talking with someone else around the community healthcare worker and some of the pharmacy techs. I think he was talking about some of his super techs or community healthcare workers and things like that. But and you do a lot of outreach with probably, I'll just say, providers and other stakeholders in the community, it sounds like.
Seniors.
I feel like that helps you a lot because you're coming at it from a different perspective. I just didn't know how.
Going through that course, you immediately have a different outlook on things and how you're addressing things. It goes back to my original, I call it my villain story, but when the lady, we needed to hold her check, it's more of I'm looking at the situation differently than I did before. And like I mentioned, I'm not necessarily patient fronting, but our 2 technicians that are, I can kind of guide them and say, hey, one person is actually appointment based. She does compression hose fittings all day long. That's all she does.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And she's one-on-one with patients every single day, up to 7 to 8 appointments a day. And a lot of times people are coming in and, she gets to be really close with them. And so she's hearing the other things that are coming up. And when you come in for compression, you're generally coming with other issues as well. Blood pressure, weight.
Yeah. That's usually not the only issue going on. Yep.
Correct. And then there's things like they may bring up food scarcity, things like that. And so those are things she's picking up in conversation and can provide with a resource because she's taken this training. She actually got her certification. Virginia, you can get a certification through the state. And she went ahead and did all of her hours and got that done. And so she's an amazing resource for these people. And it's just happening conversationally in what she's already doing. You don't have to reinvent the wheel to incorporate those resources. And then she also does a 24-hour ambulatory blood pressure monitoring program. And again, one-on-one, appointment-based. And so she's able to pinpoint, yes, you're here for your blood pressure, but also what else can I recommend for you? What other resources are there for you? So it's been great to be able to guide her with that because I see a lot of the resources coming through to me. And I'm like, well, you're the one seeing the patient. Let me pass this along to you. And so she has this great kind of database of those things. And again, it just happens naturally. It's not like she's like, hold on, let me put my CHW hat on and let me go look up all these things. It's just happening in conversation.
Yeah, it's totally just weaved into what's nice is what the certification does for those folks. It's just embeds it into now, okay, cool, store it in the bank. And you're not out there actually probably, I'll just say, talking about services that doesn't necessarily someone doesn't need at all, but usually it's a okay, something triggered this going, okay, cool, yeah, well that that we can help with, and this is the resource for it. Whether it's access issues or something else, it's like, okay, cool. Well, here's a structured path potentially. I don't know how structured, but like structured path for that, which makes a ton of sense. And I imagine for those patients, becomes a really, really close relationship after that, because like that's also why people come in with rashes and go, hey, because most of the time they've had an experience at a pharmacy that makes them go, these guys in the white coats know what they're talking about. Just go ask them. I've got it now. And then another input like that in a pharmacy setting that just goes, man, okay, I didn't know that. And,
right.
and it just becomes, you just become a resource, and that's always a good thing normally.
Yeah. And it's stackable. So, put the CPhT-Adv credential there with like the other credentials we talked about, maybe a billing specialist, a get your vaccine credential to make sure you can help out when vaccine, flu shot season comes around. We do vaccines year round because we do travel clinics, but
okay.
Obviously we have a busier season in the fall with flu shots, and
for sure
to take that load off the pharmacist so they can be at the top of their license is crazy. And why haven't we been doing this forever?
It kind of feels like once you get going and everybody gets comfortable, it's got to be like one of those things where everybody has that same moment of like, why didn't we just do this the whole time? Why didn't we just do that? Why did we just do this?
I mean, I remember
right now,
back
like, why did we do
when pharmacists got, the ability to give vaccines, and it was like, they drove up or went out to DC or whatever the closest hub was to get their training certificate. It was like a 2-day training. And we've just come so far from that it's amazing, like everything we can do, and we should utilize it.
Yeah, no, God, 1000%. I guess we're kind of already like organically talking through it all. What are some of the roles, deeper roles that you've seen technicians, like you've already listed a lot of them already, and maybe we touched on them all, but like, and you also talk to a lot of peers. So you don't there's a lot happening in Bremo, but you also are connected with a ton of people in the industry. What are some of like the deeper roles you've seen technicians really own? You talked about ownership, and maybe it's a little bit of, you can weave in like, I don't know if like choosing the right technicians is the way to say it, but like the right people for that type of role. And I'm sure everybody's different as well. So it's a little bit, I'm sure the answers depends, but
I think you can always evaluate on engagement.
Okay.
Buy-in. Here at Bremo, like we touched on a few, like we have our compression specialist. We do have a compounding specialist with 2 backups who are also trained in with hazardous compounding. And I mentioned our tech class earlier. We have, I think 4 or 5 technicians that teach for our class, myself being one of them. And then we have lead technicians here that do more than just the traditional lead technician. They're actually, they're leading within, not just from top down. So if there's an issue going on amongst staff, they can go to that lead technician prior to going to upper management. We also have we have robots and things like that. So we have technicians that are in charge of taking and maintaining our robots.
Yeah.
So that's all Bremo specific. We also have a technician. He used to be a delivery driver for us and decided he kind of wanted to like up the ante there, and is now our long-term care liaison.
Oh.
So we have a separate pharmacy that's our long-term care. It packages meds for group homes and day support. So not your traditional SNFs or assisted living or anything like that. It's group homes, day supports, people with intellectual disabilities.
I see what you mean.
Substance use recovery. And he maintains relationships with the people that run those group homes.
That run those facilities. Yep.
And that we actually train the people that pass the meds in those homes. So he coordinates that. And he's been a huge resource because when he was delivering, he got to know them all face to face.
Yeah.
And so it's just a gradual. So that's a great example of kind of keeping an open mind of what people are doing and growing them in your company.
Yeah, a little bit of a trajectory as the business builds. And
he was
going to need people to elevate.
He was amazing. Everybody knew him by first name already, so it was just a natural progression to say, "Hey, this would be a great position for you." And he's killing it. I mean, he's amazing. We have a billing specialist as well, but it's very rare that you go to a pharmacy when you have a bunch of rejected claims in your queue and you just call one person and say, hey, can you fix this? I mean, it's unheard of at most pharmacies, and we have somebody that's what she does. For that long-term care pharmacy, we do batch billing for the 1st and 15th. So
yeah,
those claims come and she's just pushing them through, and then
just working them.
The day-to-day, that's her thing. And it's just really nice to have that resource. She's not in the workflow. She's in a separate area, and then they can just contact her and say, hey, there's an issue with this claim. Our staff's not hung up on the phone with insurance companies. It's just an amazing person to have. And then outside of Bremo, like, oh gosh, yeah. So I mentioned Tiffany Capps. Who's amazing, one of my best friends, and I love her. And there's Christine Klein-Dahlman, Serena Kalinsky out on the West Coast. Oh my gosh, there's so many names I could drop, but they're all doing amazing things. And we've got people on the boards of pharmacy now as technicians. We've got technicians, like I mentioned, board of trustee, APHA.
Board of trustee and APHA. It's huge.
There are technician owners. So
there are.
Yeah.
We've had them on this podcast before. It's people don't realize.
They're amazing. And so people don't realize, like, it's just a different mindset. It really is. And you got to utilize that. You got to like pick their brains and really utilize that. Yeah.
No, I totally agree. I look at this podcast too for everybody to show some, like, obviously primarily dominated with pharmacists on the show, but like this is such a great, like, I love it when we have a pharmacy technician on, just because we get to give a little bit of a different crowd something there too. And I always use these for something where it's like, hey, look, it's not just what you think it is. Like it can be and grow. You just talked about 10 other examples of someone who probably started out as kind of like your normal in workflow pharmacy technician, or even, like you said, delivery driver, that grew into a different role in some way. And then obviously tons of leadership roles now out there in the world. So, I just think it's always good to highlight and honestly for pharmacists to understand, oh shoot, maybe I'm not leveraging the team like I could.
You've got to, I mean, I know we're in the world of talking about reimbursements and things like that. And there's so many opportunities you can be taking to, yes, address that, but also be actionable on the other end. And really and you can look at your bottom line and say, you know what, this is going to make more sense. And also it's going to get me fresh ideas. It's not the same old. We can't do the same old anymore. I believe it was last year at Connect that someone said, well, I have this one person who's really interested in changing areas and focus, but I can't afford to move her. Like, I need her in the spot that she's at because I just really like her there. And I'm thinking, okay, is that a replaceable area? Is it just, input or whatever that is? And they may be great at it. I'm sure they are.
Yeah, maybe they just have crazy throughput.
Right.
But
you also,
or whatever it is.
They're like, I can't afford to move her. And I was like, but you can't afford to lose her either.
Yeah,
entirely. So, grow her. And I really think that like struck a chord with that owner. They were like, oh, you're right. Because if I lose them entirely.
Yeah, that's way worse.
That's way worse.
That's way worse.
So let me grow them and like, hear what they have to say. And yeah, maybe there's probably going to be a transition period, but we can, the technicality of inputting a prescription can be taught. The investment of ideas and creation and in executing all of these ideas for your business, that can't necessarily be taught. So take that when you have it.
Yeah, for sure. And especially, like somehow figuring out ways to reward those really leaning in, right? And reward might be the wrong word. I don't know, but like, or
in a
invest,
different sense of
whatever,
the word.
Whatever the words are, right? Like that's recognizing it's tough to come up for air to go.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
Think about that.
And maybe you need somebody else to handle that kind of thing. Because again, you kind of get stuck in your four walls. We all do. But kind of seeing what can be and what's different.
Yeah. You kind of had a something I wanted to bring up around like future state needs. I'll just say needs around like credentialing across states and things like that. You want to talk a little bit about that piece there?
Sure.
Yeah. Like I just thought it was interesting. I thought you had an interesting take on it.
Like the meaning just technicians education in general.
Yeah. Like kind of like a standardization across. Like it's so different place to place. Is like some of them almost have zero, right?
There
Like
are
it's just like a
some places that have zero.
yeah.
And that's not saying those people are not talented and educated.
No, yeah,
But that's also they don't. Again, I hate going back to this. They don't know what they don't know. I don't know if you ever saw the NCPA Show Me episodes. It was kind of like the bar rescue. So a pharmacist and I went up to Philadelphia. It's probably been 2 or 3 years ago now. And I remember it was like the Wild West there. Like you could just walk in and be a tech. And part of me understands how that helps like workforce.
Sure.
But then there's no accountability after that. They could just come and go. And I was like, which is okay. But I'd like to see that. And I remember talking to the technician on that episode saying, you know what? It may not be required here, but there's nothing stopping you from taking that PTCB exam. There's nothing stopping you. Do it. Do it for yourself. Do it for future employers. If you plan on staying here, it's really going to show this ownership, your investment in your career and this company. And he did. It was great. He does it.
And you'll there's a comfortability too that probably comes with having the foundation. I mean, obviously there's no replacing real world experience and live fire, right? There's just not, but
there's a happy medium.
There's a foundation you can have
for sure
that you just get comfortable and you can get confident in what you're doing.
And I learned hands-on as well back in 1998. But
when you were 15, I'm just kidding. You were a clerk then.
I was a clerk then. When I got my license, I mean, it was hands-on, but I still had to. Virginia doesn't require you to be nationally certified. Back then, they did not. But every employer I've ever had, which I've only ever worked for independents, has required the PTCB, has required a national certification. It wasn't long ago that Virginia made it so you had to have a national certification to get your state license. But it used to be you could do one or the other. And every mentor I've ever had required of me to have the national. And so now when I meet other technicians, I'm like, you know what? Just do it. Just do it. And they have to in Virginia now. But even when I'm seeing people outside of Virginia, I'm like, just do it. You know, it's the gold standard. It's better yourself and then give yourself opportunity to keep going. Because then you can keep, learning more and doing more. And you should never stop doing that.
Yep. Yeah. And it's even if this spot, I always think through that too, even if this isn't going to be the thing you do 20 years, but it's going to be the thing you do 5, it's still help you a lot better. Like you'll just have a much better foundation and like you'll set yourself up to pivot if you want to.
And you can do so much, just like pharmacists are finding different things out there to do with their PharmD. Technicians are out there finding different things.
That's true. There's medical liaisons in pharma now, and
all sorts of stuff.
Those are pharmacists now, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So,
and there's me who is again not in the workflow as a traditional tech. I have my credentials, but I'm not in the workflow every day. And people. This is my big thing: is it's a career move. It never dawned on me that it was never a career move until people started saying, "Oh, that's your job," and I was like, "Yeah." Weird.
Yeah.
It is.
Yes, it is.
And I can't imagine not doing it. But I guess it's kind of the influence I've had, the mentors I've had, the voices behind me for 25 years that didn't make me think any different, which is amazing. And I want to be that person for other people, hopefully.
I guess in your pharmacy career, who would you highlight as your most influential mentor you had? It's a big one because there's probably 10 people you want to talk about.
There's a bunch. I would say okay. I'm going to give it to the original pharmacy owner that I talked about.
Okay.
Who I actually have not seen in probably 15 years. His name was Bill Morris. He's retired. But after that, I went to work for an independent pharmacy here in Richmond that again, this gentleman's also retired. His name's Ron Davis, and he was the owner of that pharmacy. And I hear myself saying these names, and they're pharmacists. There are technicians that have been influential.
Yeah, right. No,
and as I answer this, I'm like, I want to be that answer for somebody one day. Because to be fair, back then I didn't have a technician in that role for me.
Yep, 100%. You're a little bit of a trailblazer that way. Not to toot your own horn there, but like when you're one of the first ones, it's hard to. I know doing this,
and because it's been so long. But yeah, and then Ron really kind of like took me in. I was 19 when I went to go work for him, and he basically plopped me in the pharmacy, and he said, "Learn this." Then we had somebody who'd been with his company for, I don't know, 25, 30 years, and she retired unexpectedly. And she did billing, reconciliation, AR accounts, things like that, accreditation standards. And he basically handed me the handbook and said, figure it out. And I did, I think. But it's kind of those like situations where it's like sink or swim. And I appreciated him having the trust in me. And hope that I have maybe learned a little bit from him in that aspect where, and when I'm talking to other people, other technicians, that I'm giving them the guidance that they need, maybe not just sink or swim, but here are the tools. Sure. You can't do it wrong, but you can do it. There's better ways to do it. So hopefully I've taken what he gave me and maybe curated it a little bit better.
There you go.
Yeah, I'd like to, there are, like I mentioned, Tiffany and Christine and Sarah, all those technicians have been huge in my life as of late. But the OG, like the original influence were those early pharmacists that were just gave me a shot.
Bill Morris, Ron Davis, right?
Bill Morris, Ron Davis.
All right.
Both retired.
We'll drop them in the show notes. We'll see if they.
Oh my gosh!
If you guys listen to this.
If they don't, I know that they have some fans out there. So.
There we go.
Definitely.
Send it to them. Well, good stuff. Well, I guess lastly, from your perspective, like weaving in, you talk about, and it sounds like in your origin story, a little bit of like you latched on to like, I'll just say like a little bit of maybe you're a little bit of an empath. It sounds like you had a lot of empathy for that patient. That's like, and for what it sounds like Bill did.
Look at you, so good
for that patient, and so. And it also sounds like you weave that into like almost everything you're doing in some way. Cause I feel like I think everybody would love a technician who's like about high throughput and like getting things done, because obviously you're still filling prescriptions and you got to make room, and you got to like do this efficiently to make room for the other things that we could be revenue generating while being super like either in touch with or like whatever it is that these patients are going through at the same time.
And that is our demographic. That's what we do. It's what we always say here at Bremo is we take care of those patients. And you don't realize everybody at some point will be that person. So we specialize in taking care of the special patients. And everybody that, we take care of is that person because they're coming to us for something and having to remember in conversation, they may not necessarily be mad at me. I just need to remember that in conversation. And it, 9 times out of 10, it turns around. And it's really cool to work for a company that really pushes the core values, that actually lives the core values, not just like 10 of them on your website. They're cool. They're there. We actually live them every day. And it's really neat to be in a company that does that. And you can see it in, like I'm saying, both locations because we have 2 locations here. And it is just a smooth transition. Like there's no difference in how people are acting towards customers and patients and each other, and why we're here. Like the whole reason we're here, we're all aware of why we're here.
Yeah. No, I just think that's really cool. I'm going to see if you still feel the same way. I'm going to quote you. So like you've done enough of these now where you're quotable.
I'm
out in the
quotable.
world. I think you said if a patient threw a bottle at my head, I wouldn't. it
No, it's
wouldn't mess my day.
It
I was
would
just
not
like,
mess my
dude, that's
day up.
super cool. I was like, but that's what you. And that's not literal necessarily, and that's maybe you do mean it
No,
literal,
it's super
but,
literal.
but you're like, that's the kind of the viewpoint you take, where it's like, man, everybody's allowed to have a bad day or a bad moment, right? Like,
I know one day I will
just
be
thought
the
that
one
was really
throwing the
cool.
bottle at somebody's head. So it's more of just remembering, and especially as of late, as you get older and you're having to experience more of that yourself or with family members.
Yeah.
It hits a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So, and I've had that as of late. Everything's great now, but when you are the one on that side of it, the one that wants to throw the bottle at somebody's head, figuratively speaking, you get it. And you appreciate the people dealing with you so much more after you've kind of come down from that like amygdala hijack.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, wow, I'm so glad that they were the way they were and that they are who they are. And then, you know what, let me go thank them for that. And not everybody does that either. And you know what, you shouldn't expect that. Because I'm so aware, I try to make sure to do that.
Yeah. No, I try to be a great patient. I do really do.
Try to.
And even when I'm like, not like, I'm with you. I might have had had my first journey through like a specialist about a year ago or 2 years ago, and like here in Dallas Fort Worth, like everybody's packed, you know what I mean. And so like I've had to like figure out how to talk to the folks at the front counter or the front desk or whatever to be like, hey, look, whatever it is, like I'm trying to like also get done what I need to get done at the same time, or I'm just like, so it's easy to, I think, be on the other side of that counter and not realize everybody's going through
For
a little bit of
sure.
something there. So I just think that was cool. I feel like you bring that into what you do.
Thank you. I love that I'm quotable now.
Yeah, you got quotes out there. Like I chat GPT'd you, by the way.
Did you really?
Yeah. I got asked for quotes specifically. That was one of the quotes it gave me.
I think that was one I actually may have given Will.
I think you did.
Yeah.
I think you gave that to Will, because your last podcast was with TRC with
Sure.
right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It was on Amazon. I listened to it. Anyway,
I'm on Amazon?
yeah, you're on Amazon.
Cool.
I don't know if you know that.
I did not. Well, see, they record these and then they put them out in different times. So I don't
They put 'em
actually know what the
everywhere.
last one was.
They put them everywhere. I really don't know. But
No,
anyway.
I still stand by that quote. 1,000%.
I guess last thing, I always it's like a little segment called, I don't know if Brandon prepped you for like I call it prescribables. It's really just like, what are you into or looking forward to right now? And it doesn't have to necessarily always be work related. I just wrapped up Severance, just FYI. Great TV show.
Wow. I just wrapped up White
Fantastic.
Lotus.
Oh, all right. That's on my queue. It's in my queue.
So
That's
good.
next. Is it? It's on season 3 now, right? Is that what it's on?
Just finished it yesterday. Because, I don't have 1,000 other things to be doing. But I wrapped up White Lotus.
Obviously, speaking at Connect.
Speaking at Connect.
That's going to be huge. We're going to have like at least 500 people in the room for you.
Great. I think last year I did request a walk-on song, which nobody else gets usually. And I was like,
Okay,
hey, Will.
I'll make sure with Will.
I'll be at RBC
Okay.
in July. Time is
Yeah, all of
relative.
them
I have
are
no
in
idea
July.
what it is.
Yeah, almost all of them are in July.
Yeah.
This year.
I will be rolling off the board of directors for the Virginia Pharmacy Association at the end of this year.
Okay.
I've done my 3 terms.
All right.
And I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. Congrats. That sounds bittersweet to say congrats to, but that's awesome. 3 terms, right?
3 terms. I was the first one in
huge.
Virginia for the board. And then we can only do 3 consecutive. So I could roll back on.
Okay.
I'm on their foundation board as well, which I'm having so much fun with, and working on grants and scholarships, things like that. 2025 is going to be wild. But honestly, I'm hanging my hat on the White Lotus thing. Like,
there we go. That's okay. That's a great show. Great show.
It's
like
so
everybody's
good.
saying that right now.
Yeah.
I feel like I was late to the Severance party. I'm definitely late to the party for White Lotus for sure. I haven't even watched the first season, so I've got 3 to go watch that I've been prescribed by many people that I have to go watch.
So
this.
good.
So
I think you could skip
I think it started
season 2,
like Severance started slow. I part of me is like, I just don't have patience sometimes, because like Some of them are slower burns, and then they get fantastic, and that's they're world building, character building, whatever they're doing. And clearly, I've got the attention span of like a 5-year-old. So,
I think the music got me in this one too.
Oh, really?
Like,
okay.
Just the soundtrack to it is haunting, and I love that.
I love an ominous.
I love an ominous. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you learned to play the Titanic song, so like
I don't know what that says about me.
Total sense, actually.
I'm gonna go learn White Lotus theme song.
I like a big score that sounds ominous.
Moonlight Sonata was my first piano recital song. So
there we go. Yeah, so I think we have a trend developing. I think that's good. So,
yeah.
Right on. Well, good stuff. All right. Well, hey, have a good rest of the day. I know you're probably super stacked, so appreciate you carving out this.
Absolutely.
All right.
Have a good one.
See you.
Bye.
All right.